Here is the tissue culture plant. This one is the home alumina, and we are trimming some excessive leaf and roots, preparing them to put it in a nursery tent, growing tent. Now these plants are, some of them are contaminated plants, so you have two choices. First is take them out and plant them, or you can wash them and sterilize them again, but that's not a very good choice. I will not do that unless I have limited amount of those plants, but these I have a lot of them, so they will be in the growing tent, nursery tent, or condensation tent to be planted. And after you clean your tissue culture plant of the old planting media, you put it in the fungicide solution. Use any brand of your choice. There are multiple brands that I use, and well, it's fungicide, you shouldn't touch them, so get some chopstick or something that you could pick up the plants from the bucket. And over here is my planting media of choice, my choice. This is a peat moss, but there's a problem with peat moss that I have faced, which is the one that are produced here in Thailand are not so good, and I don't know what's happening with them, but every time I use it, all my tissue culture plant, small ones like this, they do not survive. They melt like they are boiled, and the temperature is about 30 to 35 in my condensation tent. The humidity is about 70 to 80%, but they all melt. But if I use imported peat moss, they are fine. But there are some other planting medium you could also use, such as I think it's cocoa peat. I do use cocoa peat sometime and sphagnum moss, but I have the highest success rate on peat moss, imported peat moss. Now, right now we're gonna put the peat moss in the planting pot. This is a 2-inch pot. Do not press on your planting medium if you use peat moss or cocoa coir. Just let it stay loose. You put in the pot like this, and then you will need to water it, soak it. You do not want to water it afterwards, after you have planted the plant in. You want these planting mediums to be soaking wet, and then you put the plants in. And now we are spraying water, it's fungicide solution, onto the planting medium, and also there's a tray of water to soak it, so it's all soaked in. We want this to be moist, to be wet. The reason we don't water after we put the plants in here is because, firstly, it's gonna rock the plant, the water. If you're using spray, like spray can like this, that's fine, but you still need to soak it well, because once it's in the condensation tent or in a plastic bag or a cup like this, we are not going to water. We are not going to give them any more water for about 30 to 40 days. They'll stay like this inside their chamber, either going to be a tent or a plastic cup like this, or you could, if it's a full tray like this, you could put it in into a basket like this, then wrap it with a plastic bag so all the moisture is staying in. Like this one, you can see there are lots of water vapor. Now once it is soaked, you poke a hole like this for your plant to sit in. One little tip, if it's small like this, you better put it in some kind of plastic cup like this, like 1 by 1. Or if it's a full tray like this, if you just have this one tray of plants, do not put it in a big tent. It's basically too big for the whole plant, so you just want to wrap a plastic bag and close it. Or you could use just any plastic cup like this you can find with something to cover. If you don't have any cover like this, you could just use any clear tape to cover it, but it needs to be clear. Yeah, one thing is it needs to be clear. Lights have to be able to go through, because of course plants need light. Take a look at this. These two, this is the homelomina. It's both of them are like clump of plants. There's a bunch of them, but this one is has a bunch of big plants already. These one are kind of safe to put it in a pot like this and put in your grow tent or condensation tent or a big box. Or yeah, you can put it in a clump like that, or you could just peel it, separate them, and plant them 1 by 1, because they're big enough for you to do that. While let's take a look at this one. This pink princess is still very small. There's one decent size. That one is decent. You can just pick it off and plant it in a pot. But the rest of the small ones, there, you can just put it there. But the rest here, the small ones, you put it in a pot like that. You see the size difference? That's tiny, and that's one plant. That's a couple of plants. Now you want to put it in a pot like that, and then separate it, just one pot. Put it in plastic cup like this. I think it's just the matter of this is just the right size for small plants like this to grow. This is better for the plants to acclimatize. And small clumps like these, a clump of small tissue culture like this, mostly don't really survive the nursery. So I don't recommend planting them. You should choose some decent size, like these ones, about 2 or 3 centimeters. Look at the leaf size. It's about your nail size. If you have a choice, just leave those ones. But if you want to try put them to plant them, this is my recommendation. Put it in just in a plastic cup or something.